this is a scenario that happens all the time, unfortunately. There are cases where the evidence against our client is pretty irrefutable. We've done everything we can to beat the breath or blood sample, and it wasn't enough. It's coming in and it's pretty clearly indicating that you're over the 0.08 threshold, or the video clearly shows that our client is intoxicated, and there's really no disputing that. So what we call those cases is a mitigation case. And what I mean by that is the state has enough evidence to prove our client is guilty of this offense. But that doesn't necessarily mean that our client deserves to be convicted of a crime. And it definitely doesn't necessarily mean that our client deserves to go to jail or suffer any of the really extreme consequences of that offense. So what we do, and this is a really important part of a DWI defense team's job, oftentimes what it comes down to is, does your lawyer have the ability to convince the prosecutor that although they have the evidence against your client, there are mitigating reasons why your client doesn't deserve to be convicted or doesn't deserve to suffer a jail sentence? And we call it a good guy packet or a good girl packet. And basically, we are going to give the prosecutor all of the context about who our client is as a person. We show, based on the age of our client, the lack of criminal history, the support that our client has in the community, recommendation letters, the fact that our client has a good job or that they're in school, basically that our client is a good person. Besides the fact that they may have made a mistake this one time, our client's a good person and deserves a second chance. They deserve a break. This part of the job is in many ways the most important part, because most cases come down to mitigation. Most cases are cases where, for one reason or the other, your lawyer has to go to bat for you with the prosecutor and convince them to ignore the evidence and offer your client some sort of plea bargain deal that avoids a conviction or avoids jail. So you could have the best lawyer in the world when it comes to reviewing evidence and knowledge of case law and how to be a good trial attorney. But if they don't have a good working relationship with the prosecutor sitting across from them in that county, in that courtroom specifically, if that prosecutor has a grudge against your lawyer, if that prosecutor just doesn't respect your lawyer, or if your lawyer isn't charismatic enough or personable enough to show that prosecutor who you are in a different light outside of the fact that you may have made a mistake, then you're never going to be able to get the best possible plea bargain in your case. And that could be the difference between you ending up convicted for DWI or on a deferred probation deal or on a pretrial diversion program that ends in a dismissal. So what a lot of people need to understand is whether or not you think your case is a good case or a bad case, okay? Whether or not there's good evidence or bad evidence against you in that particular case. One of the most important things is to understand that a good lawyer still has opportunities to avoid a conviction and to avoid you going to jail simply based on their relationships with the prosecutors and their ability to convince them to give you a second chance, even if the evidence doesn't look good.